Good evening and welcome to Sports Federation TV. My name is Alton Davids. I'm your host. As you know, the show is about what makes sport happen within the Western Cape and greatly what's happening with sport in South Africa. SASCOC, who is the mother body of all codes of sport, has 73 codes of sport represented and members of their body. We look at a range of different codes of sport. We are members of the Western Cape Provincial Sport Confederation, who are our partners on the show. Tonight's show, we chat MMA, fighting, we chat hockey, and we chat deep sea angling. We'll start the show with Caleb Ridley. You well?
Oh, very well. Self?
Good. Which code of sport are you in?
So I'm involved in mixed martial arts, but I'm also primarily a jiu-jitsu fighter. That's my background. So submission holds, locks, strangling people, that kind of business, and then that naturally gravitated over into mixed martial arts.
Explain the core concept of jiu-jitsu, because people think it's a bit of karate, it's a bit of judo. What makes jiu-jitsu so special and different?
Jiu-jitsu is a unique discipline because the fundamentals of it are involved with having a smaller guy taking on larger opponents. And with that, you have to use a lot of technique, a lot of principles of leverage. There's many dynamics and principles that go into jiu-jitsu. But it's a sport that doesn't involve any strikes. You're using throws, you're using takedowns. And once you're on the ground, you're using positional dominance or even fighting from the bottom to incapacitate an opponent without using strikes and blows, like I mentioned. So, like I said, it's all down to using the body mechanics in ways that it can't go. Elbows can only go this way; they can't bend that way. But in any which way that you can force a guy to tap out or black out, that's what you're looking for in jiu-jitsu.
Okay. How long have you been doing jiu-jitsu?
So I started jiu-jitsu in about 2008. And it's something I've been doing ever since, and it's something I think I'll carry on doing my entire life. It's one of those sports where you can pick up at any moment, and you can literally pick it up right there, and you can be taught certain techniques, certain moves, and you can just keep training forever. The impact's not too heavy. You get bumps and bruises and knocks just like any sport, but yeah, it's something that's more of a lifestyle that you can carry on throughout your whole life.
Okay. Let's take a look at some footage and see what this is all about. Check this out. That was a demonstration of a jiu-jitsu session. Caleb, jiu-jitsu happens where?
In Cape Town.
Yeah,
there's many academies in Cape Town. I'd actually say out of the whole of South Africa, Cape Town has one of the biggest followings for jiu-jitsu. There's a lot of top trainers who are world-class, high echelon in the ranks of belts, who are teaching here in Cape Town, and the amount of tournaments we get, it's risen, and the bar's gotten higher every single year. And yeah, I mean, there's town's got a huge following. There's places out in Brackenfell, Parklands. Each area kind of has a representative gym.
Yes.
And each one is stacked with potential.
You mentioned belts. How does the grading work? Explain that to us. Is it a bit like judo and karate?
It's similar because jiu-jitsu is kind of an offshoot from judo, which obviously has its roots in Japan.
Yeah.
Where jiu-jitsu is different is that it was really cultivated in Brazil. There was Japanese practitioners from judo who moved over to Brazil, who ended up teaching a family called the Gracies. From there, they still used the traditional kimono or gi to train in, and with that came the belt system. So the belt system is something, I mean, it's an integral part of any kind of martial arts discipline, and it's something that's stuck with jiu-jitsu. As jiu-jitsu's gone further down the road, especially with MMA, the gi comes off because you can't use it in a cage.
Yes.
But the belt system is something that's stuck with art, and you primarily get 5 belts: white, blue, purple, brown, and black. And there's a 6th belt, the red belt, but I mean, you have to put a serious amount of years to get that. On average, it takes about 6 to 8 years to get a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the transition from the white to the next phase, how long does that take? Is it?
I mean, it's down to the students at the end of the day, how much potential they have, how much time they're going to invest. At the end of the day, like anything else, it's hard work and dedication that's really going to maximize your progress. If you're coming in there once a week, it's going to take you a while to get your blue belt, you know. But I mean, if you've got a lot of potential, you're working hard, you're dedicated, I would say within a year, maybe a year and a half, you can be able to get your blue belt. And the thing with especially with jiu-jitsu, is that the belts really mean something.
Okay.
Because it's not like other combat disciplines where, you get your belt just after, on the basis of how much time you've trained. Jiu-jitsu is one of those arts where on a nightly basis you get to compete, you get to test out what you learned in sparring,
okay.
where you can go hard and you can test what you've learned and you can really apply your trade. That's where the belts kind of have value and still have some meaning. So if you get a black belt, he's gone through like a ton of tournaments, ton of time in the dojo to be able to qualify for that belt.
And what's the grading system? How do you is there a grading day that you need to do stuff?
Yeah, there's grading days you can have. There's also the Gracies have what's called an online university. So you can take kind of like their curriculum from the online university, and then you do like demonstration videos, which you then upload to them, and then they critique it, and then they can reward you with a belt that way. The gradings, usually you'll have like a core group of guys. So you'll have like 30 white belts going in and doing like a set grading, and that's pretty much how it works.
Okay, let's take a look at some footage of Caleb participating in his recent fights. Check this out. We gave you a sample of MMA fighting. When we come back after the break, we'll continue our discussion with Caleb and MMA fighting. See you now. Welcome back to Sports Federation TV. Our partners on this show is the Western Cape Provincial Sport Confederation. We're chatting MMA fighting. We're joined by Caleb. Caleb, you've spoken quite extensively about your experience in jiu-jitsu. Then you moved over to MMA. Why the transition?
For me, it was just a natural progression, really. When you're fighting in jiu-jitsu, you're still fighting with a certain set of rules. For me, MMA is the best thing out there. It's a combination of everything. It's like a triathlon. You got your wrestling, you got your stand-up boxing, Muay Thai, and you got your jiu-jitsu. It's kind of encompasses everything of what a combat discipline should be. And like all sports, at the end of the day, you're kind of competing in a set of like amount of rules. But with MMA, you're kind of watering it down so much, and there's so much room for what you can actually do in a cage. That when you get your hand raised, it's definitive. There's no argument,
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, for me, it was just a natural progression. Combat sports is something I just feel very passionate about. And yeah, it was just the jiu-jitsu, the MMA, and that was it. That was for me.
As a result of being involved in MMA, you're now a pro-am, which is the in-between between an amateur and a professional. You've achieved a few milestones. Tell us one or two of those.
Well, recently, I just got back now from the International Mixed Martial Arts Federation Africa Open, where I fought a top Swedish lightweight. I went up a division to fight him. But previously, I've fought in a tournament called Unanimous, which was a top 16 in Africa tournament. I've fought other top grapplers and also international opponents there. Yeah, there's a huge list of what I've been able to accomplish. In the last 2 years have kind of been like my comeback years, where I've kind of devoted a lot of time and effort into the sport. And since then, I mean, it's just, I don't know, the river's just been kind of carrying me. I've fought for a title in CFL, the Cape Fight League, locally, and yeah, for me, this is just the beginning. Even though I've accomplished quite a lot in the last 2 years, I'm only just getting started.
Yeah. And mixed martial arts then is a combination, like you said, of a range of different combat sports put together, and you can use any or all of the above for when you're in the cage. How do you manage to find out in your head right at that very moment which is the next move to make? Because I mean that's quite technical and quite psychological to a point.
Yeah, that's a very good question, and it's one I've thought about a lot. For me, I try not to overthink too much. I think sometimes if you focus too much on one thing, you kind of miss the bigger picture. For me, in my personal opinion, it's what I like to call the inner man. Like we all have the inner man in us. For example, I think we've all been in a situation where we've kind of driven somewhere and our mind's been somewhere else, and we get there and we think, geez, how did I don't actually remember driving here? Or if I say, you tie your shoelaces. If if I went back to when you were a kid and I'd asked you to tie your shoelaces, it would be this very complex and difficult thing.
Yes.
Now it's something you don't even have to think about. And fighting is the same kind of thing for me. When I go in there, I try to keep my mind as clear as possible, and the techniques and the strategies that I've learned in training are just something that should just be a natural response. It's not necessarily that I'm thinking, oh, okay, cool, I'm going to try to break his left arm. If the opportunity is there, I think my natural ability will just be able to do it. But yeah,
It's a bit rough, eh? Break someone's arm.
Well, it's a sport at the end of the day. This is kind of like what's involved in it. It sounds rough, but it's also something you need to do. I've been in the position before where I had a guy's arm and he would not tap, and I had to take it past that point. It's like it sounds really like mean, but I mean, if you show the guy mercy in that kind of situation, and I think, okay, cool, I'm not going to take it past the point, and I let it go, and we stand up, and he knocks me out cold.
You snooze, you lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to have kind of a killer instinct, and you got to know when your opportunity is there, you got to give it everything you've absolutely got.
Definitely. For those of you who remember a few weeks ago, I mentioned this, that the hardest part of any activity is the preparation. There's a 10,000 rule by Maxwell who says that you need to train correctly and perfectly for 10,000 hours to be a success. And if you're at that point, when you get to the starting line, like Caleb says, it all comes back to you naturally, and it's second nature because you've trained in that way. Does that summarize it?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. That's exactly how I feel about it. If you want to be successful, if it's in martial arts, if it's in any kind of discipline, at the end of the day, it's hard work and it's dedication to your craft. And you got to try commit to excellence and get as far away from average as possible.
Caleb, how do people follow you? Are you on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of the social media stuff?
They can find me on Facebook and also on Instagram. My account's Q6Riva, just a Q6 Caleb, sorry. And yeah, that's my two outlets, Facebook and Instagram. I've also got a YouTube account that guys can also check out. You just type in my name and you'll be able to find my videos.
That will be cool. Caleb, thank you for your time. Good luck for your next competition.
Thank you so much.
When we come back, we'll be chatting field hockey. See you now.